What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the shop. We finished this pavilion that I'm showing you on screen at our church this spring. It was a good project. We might talk about that in a later video, but it has been brought to my attention on several occasions now that we need some trash cans out there. Someone came up with an idea to make kind of a McDonald's hutch kind of thing, and since I make dreams come true, that is what we are going to do in this video today. There are going to be plans for this because I took a quick look, didn't see anything like this because I wanted to just build it and not really have to think about it much. Link to those down in the description below if you want them. Let's crack this thing out. Should be a quick build. You will need 5 2x4x8s and 20 fence boards. These are under $2 at Home Depot. You're going to need 2.5-inch deck screws, 1 5/8 deck screws, a set of hinges, a lock, some liquid nails is what I'm going to use. You could choose to use Titebond 3, but with this pressure treatment, I would prefer to use liquid nails, and I'm using a big tube. You definitely don't need to go that way, but it's much cheaper to run that way. And for assembly, I'm going to be using the Craig Pocket Hole XL jig. You need that? No, you could toe screw things, but I have it, so I'm going to use that. And then we are going to be doing heavy work over here on the miter saw stand. But if you don't have a miter saw, you just have limited tools. A speed square and a circular saw works out perfect. First thing we are going to do is break down 2 2x4s into 4 pieces, and these are going to be the vertical portions of the trash can hutch. Now we're going to take another 2x4 and cut out 4 pieces, which are going to be like the horizontal ones when you're looking at this thing from the front. And we got to cut another 4 pieces that are going to be going away from us when we're looking at this trash can hutch, a little bit shorter. This is the 5th and final 2x4 for this hutch. I want to go back to that measurement for the horizontal ones when you're looking at the hutch and cut that out because we definitely need that. And this remainder we will use for the door when we get to that portion of the build. Let's drill some pocket holes now with the Craig Pocket Jig XL, and then we'll do some assembly. You can use this for 1.5-inch or 3.5-inch material. I assume that would be for 4x4 or 2x4 like we have right here. As well, the XL driver, not sure if you can see it on here, but it has 3.5 and 1.5-inch depths, and you actually look right through the collar to set that. So we are ready to go 1.5 and 1.5 right here. A lot of these screws say you don't need to drill pilot holes now, but it's not worth cracking your stuff. It takes a minute. My workbench is square. I'm gonna build everything off of that. I'm gonna do the front first, and we need to mark out for that one other cross member that needs to go here. And this will be trash can goes under. This is where you throw your trash. We're going to do this again for the back, except no piece right here. We now have our front and back done. Now we're going to attach them together with the pieces we put the pocket screws in. I am trying to hide the nastiest parts of the wood under the siding, so I'd rather see the pocket holes on the inside of this and be able to cover this up with the siding. Ease of assembly, I'm going to put the liquid nails on here. I'm going to get the front, and then I'm going to use a big clamp to clamp this together so it doesn't want to move around on me as I'm working on it. Once I get it clamped together, I will slide it against the corner of the workbench, make sure everything is square. we are ready to put some of the fence boards on here, which we're using as siding. On one side of these fence boards is a dog ear, on the other side is flat. So we're going to put this up against the block of the miter station and cut these down to length. We want less, about 1/4 inch. So this way I can make sure they're flush on the top, and we'll have a tiny little reveal on the bottom. So when you push this thing around, we want to make sure that there's not going to be any pieces splintered off the end of this fence board. I'm going to use 18 gauge brads, one shot in the middle at the top of the bottom to hold this in place. And then I can just come through and add the screws at my heart's content without having to hold a whole bunch of stuff. I do think, because why not, I'm going to add a bead of liquid nails across there as well, just so that I can get more of it all over myself. The last one needs to be cut off maybe 1.5 inches. If you have a table saw, do it on there. If you have a circle saw, do it on there. But I'm going to add everything else and then we'll come back and do that one. Yes, I'm working with pressure treated, and no, don't like to run it over my tools. But I have carbon method on this table saw already. So that's good. And then I'm going to be spraying some dry lube, Teflon, no silicone in here, on here, just to help protect from this moisture that we're going to be running over the saw as we run a few pieces through here for the parts we need to cut down. Now we're looking at the back, bumping right up to the square. Just finished up the door and I've set that side. I want the liquid nails to cure up before we hang anything, because it is a fence board themselves that's providing most of the structure, so we want to make sure that liquid nails is set up. So on the top here, I do want to have a strip covering this 2x4, and then we'll add some small pieces going across the top so it matches up with the door, because that's what good woodworkers do. And so I'm just lining this up flush with the top, and I want this gap right here between the fence boards of the door and this. Make sure when you cut the door that you only cut the height of the door and not all the way to the top here. We can cut these out of the offcuts of the side. It is the pieces of the door that we're going to use for the top of the trash can hutch. And if you don't cut them properly, you'll be short. Like the side cut boards are really, really close, but you're like 1/4 inch too short, and you'll have a little bit of those dog ears from the fence boards on the top if you don't cut, and make sure you save the offcuts of the door to go on the top. Just a word of warning. So to get the perfect spacing, we're just going to mark it off on the inside and down the vertical portion, and we're going to remove this part. So we're going to have an upside down L that we want to put up there. We're going to do both sides, quick cut on the bandsaw or with the jigsaw. So I don't want to take this off the workbench just yet because I want to leave the door overnight. So I do want to finish up though, so I'm going to climb up here and put the top on. I got the door clamped up to the frame right now. The hinges in place, not screwed in onto the door. As you can see, we got a little bit of an overhang here. So I want to actually use a utility knife to recess the hinge into this a little bit. This stuff is so wet with pressure treatment, it takes a couple of cuts and you're good to go. Well, that is a wrap on the trash can cover. I actually made two. There's one over there by Ethan. And this was the pavilion I showed you at the beginning. I helped build this at our church. We're on the grounds of the church. Obviously, this is a 30 by 48, I think is what the pavilion is. We did a shiplap pine ceiling on there, and yeah, came out pretty nice, and we've been needing some trash cans. We also put these tables together. Michaela helped me sand all these. She's very proud of them. But anyway, turned out great. Very heavy. Wind is not going to blow these over, which is a good thing. And now we have some trash cans out in the pavilion to keep things nice and tidy. Again, there are plans to these linked down in the description below, because I looked to see if there were some basic plans for a trash can. This is a 32-gallon Brute trash can that fits right inside there. And I think it looks pretty tidy. It is big and heavy, like I said, but it ain't going to blow anywhere. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helped some of you guys out. If it did, please hammer that thumbs up button, as it helps us out and gets this video in front of more eyes. I'm DIY Tyler. You guys have a good one.